Hello, everybody, and welcome into the SFA Season 14 Transfer Portal Preview. It is finally here, one of the best times of the season, and the end of Season 14 is upon us. Now, before we get to all the fun Season 15 stuff, we have to go through the 3-day transfer portal process. And before we get started and going through all of the players, I'm going to do a full disclaimers, all of the FAQs, any questions should be answered here in the first 5 minutes, so please don't skip me. Please listen to the full disclaimer, as things have changed slightly from years past. So for those of you who are new around here or just forgot since last season, the transfer portal, it is across 3 days. When I say days, I mean periods, basically. So day 1 will go till this start time, day 2 will go to this end time, day 3 will go to this end time, and so forth. After each day, players will commit, and then I'll post updated budgets, and then you'll be able to resubmit again for day 2, etc., etc. If you don't know what you're coming into the transfer portal with in terms of scholarships or recruiting budget, all of that has already been posted in the Recruiting General channel, so go take a look. If you have less than $30,000, you cannot pitch, and you are in red, so those are the only people who cannot participate. So this season is our biggest transfer portal of all time. The game dictates how many transfer portal spots are open, and this season it opened 109 slots for us to go through. So tons of opportunities, ton of chances for old users, new users to better their teams and really make a great push towards, becoming bowl eligible, division champ, conference champ, or maybe even making the playoff. We've seen it before. Even just last season, East Carolina brought in Tavarius Trace, the quarterback from UCLA, to win a national championship. So it is possible. You can do it here in the transfer portal. But yeah, so without further ado, let's get to the disclaimers. So basically, how the transfer portal works is every day I will post a form, and you have to submit through it. Now, in the past, I've been extremely strict on spelling, making sure everything is correct. The only thing I am going a little bit more relaxed on is spelling. Now, I will void your pitch if the names are completely off, or there's a ton of spelling errors, or like everything's off. But if you mix up just one letter, then I'll let it slide from now on. However, it's completely up to my discretion. I will not be changing my decision if I do void you. So just keep that in mind. You really want to get the spelling right. And there will be a full form or a full PDF posted of every single player in the transfer portal. So there really is no excuse to get the names wrong. Now, what you're looking at on the screen here is what a pitch should look like, what your submission should look like. So this is basically me as a coach of East Carolina with $150,000 left, and let's just say I have the base 3 transfer portal scholarships, and this is what I decided to offer. I decided to offer $50K to Arch Manning, $50K to Binks McBurnfinger, and $50K to Chad Barber. That is perfect because everything's spelled correctly. I'm splitting up my money correctly. I have 3 scholarships, so I can only pitch to 3 players, and it all adds up to $150,000. I will void your pitch if you pitch more money than you have. So that means that there are no stacking offers. So you can't say, oh, I offer $50K to this guy, but if he doesn't commit, then offer to this guy, then offer to this guy, because otherwise everybody would just submit a tier list of who they want, and it would just be dumb. So you can only split up your money by how many scholarships you have and how much money total you have. You cannot stack. If you have only 3 scholarships, you cannot pitch to 4 players. Now, you can pitch to only 2 if you have 3, right? But you can't pitch to 5, basically. If the money doesn't add up, I will void your entire pitch, not just some, the entire. If there's any errors, I will void the entire pitch. Make sure you put your name on it. I tend to be recommending that you put your coach name that you go by in Discord and your team name to make sure there's no possibility of getting voided, right? I have to go through hundreds of submissions, so if it's something I have to figure out, I'm just going to void the pitch and move on. So no names will get voided. If your math's incorrect, if you're offering to too many people. What else? I already went over the spelling. I really would like you guys to get the spelling right, but if it's one letter off, I'll be okay with it this year. And that's really it for the big disclaimers. Now, after each day, I'm going to go through the entire list. Whoever offered the most money will get the commitment, and I'll post a commitment with your updated budget. And then on the start of day 2, anybody who did not commit the first day will then be available to offer. You'll resubmit based on your new parameters, etc., etc. If you are offering to people, you have to offer a person at least $30,000 for them to commit. If you offer somebody $20,000, that is an ineligible pitch, and your entire pitch will get voided. So if you have like 3 transfer portal scholarships, but you only have $50,000, that means you can only sign 1 player. So you have to just lose those 2 scholarships and just go all in on one guy, because you can't split up 20 to 30, 40 to 10, right? So just make sure that you guys are following all of the rules. All this is laid out in the recruiting guide as well if you want to follow along. So that's kind of the major disclaimers. I mean, it's really pretty simple. Now I'm going to go through and reveal all of the transfers. So before we do that, let me get this stuff off the screen. So you're looking at declares. So I'm going to start scrolling down. But basically, I'm going to use this guy as an example on what to look for, okay? Because this is your main video, your main scouting tool. You can see on the top there, you can see position in the top left. You can see their name. Behind the player model, sometimes you'll be able to see if they were redshirted, if they were an impact player or All-American or awards and stuff like that. In the top, you can see this is their current year right now. So Danny Lundy is currently a junior. That means in season 15, he will be a senior. You can see his height, weight. You can see where he's from, and you can see his archetype in the top middle. He is a power kicker. And then you can also see his current overall. Now, when I go through this video, I will not show you exact ratings as they do not matter. The transfer portal happens before progression, so it's going to be irrelevant because I'm going to send you progression anyways. If you want to see some of their current ratings, you can go check the current roster video from the beginning of season 14 to see some minute ratings if you want to decide between some guys. But the transfer portal is designed to be quick, to shoot from the hip, go with your gut, and get players you think are going to help you out. If somebody's transferring away from your team, you can use your budget to save them. All you have to do is be the highest bidder, just like anybody else, and they will stay at your school. Now, it will cost you a transfer portal scholarship to do that as well. Now, if your team is projected to get one of the transfers at the start of the window, it does not guarantee that another user will not steal them throughout the 3-day process. So any of the in-game transfers that I did not edit or force into, those are going to a school if they're not signed. Now, any of the forced transfers that I did currently are going to Air Force. If any of them remain unsigned after the 3-day process, I will spin a random wheel, and then they will go randomly throughout the country. It could be a user, could be not. It will go somewhere random, okay? Let's see. Just for future reference, I always do recommend recruiting in season as it is more effective and there's longer eligibility, and they typically are higher overalls. And don't trust the portal to provide gems every year. And then another big one is all transfers are granted immediate eligibility. There is no redshirt transfer year. I can remove it. So these players will be available for your roster in season 15. And like I said, any players that do not receive a bid will go to the original projected school. Unless it was a forced transfer, then I'll spin a random a random wheel. So without further ado, let's go through the players. There's 109 of them. I will go pretty quickly, but all the major ones I will talk about, and kind of the story or whatnot if you're wanting to look for some background, okay? So first up, Moses Strong is an SFA IGR in-game recruit. He went to Baylor. He's stuck behind Monroe Rosecrans, who is an SFA player as well, so he'll never play. So he is going to the portal. This was just a depth piece. ECU guy with the retirement, he specially rolled. So he's going Mikhail Copeland, SFA player. Percival Peely, SFA player. This is what the game decided. This was the Fortnite reward player, unfortunately. So if Cabbage wants to keep him, he's going to have to get him back. Now, this is one of the 2 players who are going to Southern Miss, specifically because they currently have the Mississippi Pipeline. So even though B-Dog did move coaching over to Texas, Southern Miss maintains that pipeline. So if nobody picks up Peely, he will go to Southern Miss. Jared Mullins from Florida. He had the game-winning touchdown against Stanford early on in the season. Jay Jones from Florida, backup to SFA player Duke Archbishop III. Travis Vandermeulen, a depth piece for Georgia Tech. Jean Jacques Bocasa, SFA player. Jackson Arroyo, the other SFA player that the game decided to transfer. I believe this is Kent State or Kentucky, one of the 2. So if he's not picked up, he'll go to one of those places. Another game decided transfer, as you can see in the bottom right. It shows you where they're going. You can see their current year, their current overall, their current position. Xavier Parsons, another SFA player that, he's not an SFA player, sorry. One of the game-determined transfers. Lance Malone, he is one of your, tampered players. So he is unavailable to you in the transfer portal. He is going to Oregon State. If you check the PDF I'm posting, he is already blocked out for Oregon State. So do not put Lance Malone on your offer. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. He's going to Oregon State. Andy Bell from Oklahoma. Sam Howmiller from Oklahoma. Ed Bradley, a quarterback here from Arkansas. He has been up and down in his career, but Arkansas has been pretty bad, so he kind of needs a fresh start. Great opportunity for him to go to somewhere that needs a quarterback. This is our golden ticket for the year, Jared Gilbert. He had a great season. Brian Hall, in-game, not an in-game recruit, but the game decided to make this person transfer. Matt Hale, a quarterback from Texas, and Jason McCoy from Texas. I decided to put these guys in here because Texas currently has 4 startable quarterbacks, and B-Dog is a triple option type of a guy, so the other 2 are very fast runners. These guys are okay runners, but I figured if I'm going to make some transfer, I'm going to make the 2 pocket passers or not as explosive players transfer, so that's why. Andy Newton, this is player Maddox lost. He can get him back, though, if he really wants to. Kicker, Broken Promise. Royce Marchetti, this is a coaching change transfer. Game determined. This is due to the firing of Mushbrain. This was a shop reward triggered by me, Marlon Hoover, SFA player. Another one, Dale Shivers, the Buffalo running back Heisman finalist. So definitely going to be a popular player in the portal. Pedro Bautista, one of my favorite players in the SFA, is transferring because of a broken promise. This is another one of those tampered players by Oklahoma. He will be going to Oklahoma. Do not pitch to Kyle Royal. Otherwise, you will be sorely disappointed. SFA player Josiah Bird, one of my favorite players on my championship-winning team. I love him so much. I really hope he goes to a great spot. Treat him well. Clemson guy going into the portal. Billy Gilmore, SFA player. Another retirement transfer. Cassius Dreyer, Team of the Year safety as well. Frankie Brickshire, he is a SFA IGR buried in the Michigan depth chart. He was not projected to play, so he's going to the portal. Ray Smith, depth piece as a safety. Same thing, depth piece. A lot of these transfers from CPU teams are me attacking your depth. So we have 109 spots to fill. If you have depth, I'm gonna yoink them from you. Yeah, it's just kind of how it is. We're simulating real college football here. Now, Lenny Fowler, Broken Promise, SFA player. He is the lowest overall available in the transfer portal, but he is an SFA player. Julius Nambo, another Broken Promise, depth piece here. Roddy Domino, Broken Promise. Will Morgan, game decided. Javon Ohio, Broken Promise. This is a game decided one, and also he's going to Southern Miss because, I think I put him in here because he's a depth piece, but because he is from Mississippi, he's going to Southern Miss if nobody picks him up. This was a shop-generated transfer by Jay Jettas. This is game determined by Oregon. Game determined. He's behind Crawdad Sutherland, so forced him in, depth piece. This was a coaching carousel casualty. This was game determined for A&M. Washington, he has a bunch of SFA safety, so attacking the depth. Marty Fellows, Broken Promise, another great running back. 99 speed, if you don't know. Jamie Breckenridge, another Broken Promise, had a really good start to the year for Wyoming, but they definitely choked down the stretch, so we'll see if he can revitalize his career somewhere else. Davion Tart, Broken Promise from ODU. Dan Green, depth guy. Depth. Tyrell Skinner, very interesting player here because McNasty is coming from Central Michigan, and he had so many bad running back injuries over there, and he goes to Cincinnati, and who's here? Tyrell Skinner, who's been injured for the majority of the last 2 seasons, so that's why I decided he needs a fresh start. McNasty does not want to deal with injury-prone guys. We'll see if he can revitalize his career somewhere else if somebody wants to take a chance on him. Kennard Shorts lost his starting job to Javon Campbell, so he is transferring. Depth. Muffy Breastfeeder is entering the portal. If you want to talk about teams that got targeted in the transfer portal, I think you can put Illinois one, East Carolina, the Buffaloes of the world, right? So Muffy Breastfeeder, his senior year, he is available in the transfer portal. AJ Mason, one of my favorite players entering this class. If you want to watch some game film on him, go watch the Auburn-Fresno State highlights from their game day earlier in the year. Chadley Brown went down with injury. AJ Mason comes in. He has a fantastic game, almost makes the comeback. So that's why we're throwing AJ Mason in here. See if he can become a starter somewhere else. Barrett Rogers, he's going to the transfer portal because Wooley's already handed the keys to the SFA reject, so Barrett Rogers, he's the odd man out. He's going to the portal. Ray Beard, this was a shop-generated transfer by Jay Jettas. Terry Butler, SFA player. Now, he rolled in the coaching carousel not to go. However, he is a SFA player, and he's very far down on the depth chart. He needs a fresh start, so I threw him in here. Boogie Toes is going as well. SFA player, highly ranked running back. He had a great performance in the playoff a couple of seasons ago against Alabama. So wanted to see him go out with a bang in his final year, see if he can become a starter, lead somebody on a playoff run. Xavier James, probably not overall wise, but the best player in the portal. He just led the country in sacks, TFLs, anything and everything in between. Xavier James, the SFA Player of the Year, is in the portal for 1 year. Where is he going to go? PJ Morton, this is another injury guy. Illinois had a very disappointing season. PJ Morton was injured the entire year, so he wants a fresh start his senior year as well. Robbie Reese, this was an interesting one. He had a fantastic playoff in season 12, where they made the semifinals, and he even caught like a tipped Hail Mary. Unfortunately, it was a really bad season. Season 13 that happened, but season 14 was a disaster for Alabama. So Robbie Reese is going to capitalize on that historical success and see if he can be, senior receiver for one of you guys. And here he is. He did not decide to go to the draft. Grant Davis enters the transfer portal as he had a fantastic CFP run in season 14. So we will see where he goes. Drew Anderson, this is another player for Michigan. If you don't know kind of the story of Michigan the last 2 years, they've had some really bad quarterback injuries. So right tackle is getting thrown into the portal as Michigan revokes their scholarships, wanting to fix the offensive line, basically, is the story we're going with. Depth guy, Grant Day, a victim, or the guy who caused them to lose to Florida State, the helmet drop game, the helmet drop play. Notre Dame never could recover from that failure the rest of the season, so he's going to go to the transfer portal, try to get a fresh start somewhere else, as where he is not the where he's not the guy that ruined the season. Brent Perkins, this is another guy triggered by the shop, and he's the odd man out as Lance Malone's coming to town. Lawrence Cade, a fullback depth guy. Quay Camaro, this is a coaching carousel guy, very high-quality pass rusher. Clyde Starr, SFA player, depth on Stanford. He wants to start his senior year. Dudley Steele, this is the third and final guy who will be going to Miami, Ohio, as he was a tampered player. Do not pitch to Dudley Steele. You will not get him. He's going to Miami, Ohio. Pierre Stone, he was the only player last season who did not get an offer in the transfer portal. It randomly put him on ULM, and he wasn't the starter at ULM, so he still wants to start after Nick screwed him out of playoff playing time. So somebody make Pierre Stone your featured running back. Keith Cronin, a depth piece for Tennessee. Liam Gagne, SFA player from Toledo. It's a bad team. We're going to see if he can help somebody somewhere else. Tamir Lovelace, this is a coaching carousel guy. He actually went to UTEP in the transfer portal a couple years ago. Never worked out, so we're going to give him another shot. Tony Richard, depth guy. Depth. Baylor, James Callahan. This one's interesting. He's a very good running back. He was a depth piece. And then you got Silva going to the draft now. So it's the Nile Sheethers era for Baylor and Coach Flame. We'll see where James Callahan goes. Definitely probably the top running back in the portal. Depth guy. Coaching carousel, Tyler Smoot, SFA player. Depth at punter. We've got more depth behind Desmond Stryker, the number one recruit. Broken Promise. This is just another great Florida player. Depth. They had a terrible season. Coaching carousel. Here he is. Garrett Gamara. Everybody whined and moaned that I wouldn't let him play. But now he maintains that extra year of eligibility. So it'll be a redshirt freshman. Who knows how progression will help you out. Remember, all these overalls are before progression, so they could go up, they could go down. Most likely they'll go up a couple of overall. Another game-determined guy. Game-determined guy, one of the top players in the portal, John Black. He had a very good play on one of our game days earlier on in the year. I was pleasantly surprised that he went to the portal, so we'll see what he can do. Dylan Hart, this is a game-decide transfer. I was going to make him transfer anyways. I featured him in an Instagram post, so excited to see where he goes. He's very quick. Tony Gooseby, not an SFA player, but Haydoon, game decided to have him transfer. Another game-decide transfer. Remember, if none of these guys are picked up, they're going to these teams in the bottom right. Another one for Auburn. Dusty Dukes, SFA player. He is the highest overall player in the transfer portal. He can do it receiving. He can do it blocking. He can back up your offensive linemen if they get hurt, etc., etc. Dusty Dukes is a very good ad for you guys. He was my primary receiving target until Vlad Sexton came along, and then I just had Dusty Dukes as like a blocker, backup at all the offensive line positions while Vlad went out and caught all the touchdowns. So he is a very versatile, very good tight end and the highest overall in the portal. Chad Hunter coming back to the portal. Very disappointing player for Ohio. Transferred from Ohio State his freshman year. So we're going to see if he can revitalize it one last time, see if somebody wants to give him a chance. A good depth player from Purdue and Wisconsin. They have an SFA player behind him at John Washington, so we're going to have him transfer. Game decided and game decided. And that will do it here for the portal for Season 14. So remember, folks, Day 1 will end whenever I say, right? And then I'll go through, post all of the results for Day 1. Then I'll post the link again to the forum, and then you'll have Day 2 with the updated players, right? So feel free to reference this, reference the roster video, go check the players leaving section, right? But I'm not going to give additional ratings or anything. This is the transfer portal. It is very quick, very fast. You got 109 players you can choose from, minus the 3 tampered players, so 106 really. So have fun. Let's see what you got. I am so excited to watch what happens.